Salam sejahtera Dr. Hana. My name is Renuka Anak Perempuan Laksman with metric number 71388. I am final year student under the supervision of Dr. Victoria Jonathan. Today, I will present on my final year project 2 titled The Influence of Supervisor Support, Co-worker Support and Staff Efficiency on Work Engagement Among Teachers During the Pandemic. Work engagement is an essential part for each individual to do their tasks or activities properly, either individually or in team within the scope of work, academic, and daily life. Most studies shows that work engagement among employees in public or private organizations had kept on improving since the past 2 decades, yet not reaching their maximum level of engagement in work due to certain factor or reason. In 2016, worldwide survey stated that among 1.4 million employees, there are as much as 87% of them not well engaged with their work, while in 2020, it had increased with 20% of them are well engaged. This shows that work engagement among employees from worldwide is still in the lowest level, and they need to take this into consideration. Based on past studies, there are a lot of factors can increase work engagement level. Studies done by these researchers shows that supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency has a positive relationship with work engagement, which is among employees in manufacturing company and communication service company. While in this study, it is aimed to determine the influence of supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic. In doing this research, it shows that there is a lot of study done on work engagement, which mostly among employees and various industry. While in this study, it will investigate on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic by using supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency. This study is crucial to be done because it will focusing on Malaysian teachers from public high school and come out with numerical data of research outcome on work engagement during COVID-19 pandemic. The objective of this study are included with general objective and specific objectives. The general objective is to determine the influence of supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, while for the specific objective of this study are to determine the influence of supervisor support on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, to determine the influence of supervisor support on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, to determine the influence of staff efficiency on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, and to determine the most dominant factor that influence work engagement among teachers during the pandemic. For research hypothesis, it have 4 hypotheses, which are: there is a significant influence of supervisor support on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, there is a significant influence of co-worker support on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, there is a significant influence of staff efficiency on work engagement among teachers during the pandemic, and there is a most dominant support that influence work engagement among teachers during the pandemic. The conceptual framework for this study has been adapted from some past researches, which contain 2 parts, which is independent variables and dependent variable. This study also plays a significant role in HRD, schools, and teachers. Other than helping researchers to have better understanding on work engagement, it will encourage supervisor and co-worker to provide the employee with right support, explain how important is work engagement in schools to meet their success, and increase teacher general knowledge. In this study, researchers are going to use 4 variables, which are supervisor support, co-worker support, staff efficiency, and work engagement to discover the actual result for the research objective, and data will be collected through quantitative ways and using SPSS to calculate it. The best definition of term to explain each of the variables had been stated. In this study, supervisor support refers as supervisor action in motivating teachers to do their work. Co-worker support refers as motivation and attention given among teachers to do their work well. Staff efficiency refers to teachers' mentality on their competency to deal with their work, and work engagement refers to teachers' effort in performing their job. By referring to other authors' perception on each of the variables used in this study, there are many aspects detected in explaining the concept of work engagement, supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency. To do this study, I had reviewed some past research to understand the relationship between supervisor support, co-worker support, and staff efficiency on work engagement among other type of sample and before pandemic happened. Most of the results shows that all of the independent variables used in this study has a positive relationship with work engagement. To explain this study, I will use the job demand resource model, which has been introduced by Arnold Baker and Evangelia Demarty in 2006 that proposed high job demand lead to strength and health impairment, while high resource lead to motivation and productivity. In this study, I will look at the perspective during the COVID-19 pandemic that believe when both job demand and job resources are high, employees can well engage in their work because they can face the work challenges more easily after receive more positive support from supervisor and coworker, as well as when managed to gain high self-efficiency. In this study, I will use correlational research design to determine the influence on each of the variables with dependent variables used in this study. This study are going to be conducted at a public high school in Sarawak that have 92 population and only needs 75 sample to conduct it, which had been selected using convenient sampling through soft sample size calculator. Next, for the research instrument, researcher will use questionnaire to conduct the study, which have 5 sections with 12 items each that require respondent feedback by using multiple choice and 5-point Likert scale. Before conducting the actual study, pilot study had been done at a public high school in Sarawak but not the targeted public high school for the actual study among 30 teachers within 1 week to test the validity and reliability of the research instrument. It is proof that the questionnaire used is valid and reliable. Data collection procedure used in this study is: first, researcher will apply for an official letter to conduct the study from faculty. Second, researcher will send the approved official letter to the organization. Third, researcher will share the Google Form link to a public high school to be distributed among teachers. 4. Researcher will collect data from the respondent. And lastly, researcher will analyze the data using SPSS. I will use descriptive statistic to calculate section A and inferential statistic for section B, C, D, and E by using Spearman correlation and multiple regression. While for research ethics, I will distribute survey questionnaire through Google Form with consent letter attached, keep the data collected private and confidential, set a proper time frame, and cite each references properly using APA format. From the findings, most of the respondents are among female teachers, those who age 50 years old and above, bachelor degrees holder, and have 20 years and above of experience in teaching. Based on the normality test and reliability test result, it shows that all of the variables used in this study are having 0.000 as its significant value, which indicated that the data are not normally distributed, and Cronbach alpha value proof that questionnaire used in this study is very reliable as it is above 0.9. For the hypothesis testing result, all of the hypotheses is accepted. Hypothesis 1, 2, and 3 have p-values below 0.1 and the RHO value is 0.769, 0.807, and 0.919 respectively. While for hypothesis 4, R value is 0.904, R square value is 0.817 that indicated 81.7% of the variance in the data can be explained by predictor and p-value less than 0.05. From the coefficient table, it proved that self-efficiency is the most dominant factor that influences work engagement among teachers during the pandemic as it has bigger beta value with 0.680. For study summary, Chapter 1 until Chapter 5 discuss about how does this study done and prove the actual result of the hypothesis stated. While in the discussion, it explained on the hypothesis result which proved that all is accepted and show positive influence on work engagement. I believe that this study can improve HRD policies and practice, managing schools with right method, and produce teachers who are highly engaged in their work. To collect more data on this study, future research should discover it through qualitative ways, figure out other support, and do it in other industry or in bigger sample. That's all from me. Thank you.